Welcome to the deep dive. We are diving into Fund Your $100,000, a novel initiative to reduce wealth inequality today.
Oh yeah, this one's been getting a lot of attention.
It has, and honestly, after reading it, I'm excited to unpack it.
Yeah.
Full disclosure though, I'm still wrapping my head around how this FY100 thing actually works.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the idea and I'm intrigued by tackling wealth inequality, but
Yeah.
how would it work?
It seems complex at first, I know.
Yeah.
But actually the idea is pretty straightforward. Basically, it's giving every American a chance to build wealth through a dedicated investment account.
Okay, I mean, that sounds simple enough, I guess.
Yeah.
But what makes this different from just opening a regular investment account?
Well, imagine this. Every American with a social security number automatically gets a special account.
Yeah.
And there's a lifetime contribution limit of $100,000.
Wait, $100,000? That's a lot of money. Where would that money even come from?
Well, that's where it gets innovative. The book suggests kind of a multifaceted approach, so contributions would come from individuals, employers, even government programs.
So it's not just like the government just handing out money.
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's about creating a system where everybody has the opportunity to contribute and benefit, no matter how much they make.
Okay, I see. So it's kind of like a level playing field type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. So to make sure I'm understanding this right,
Yeah.
what are some of the key features that make FY100 so unique?
One of the big ones is that contributions to these accounts would be tax-free.
Oh, wow.
This would incentivize participation, and it lets people max out their investment potential.
Yeah, especially for someone who's just starting out their career, tax-free contributions. That sounds really good.
Absolutely. And then to make it even better, the money in these accounts would be invested in publicly traded U.S. securities.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is to connect individual wealth building to the overall success of the American economy.
Okay, so by investing in American companies, everyone benefits when those companies do well.
Exactly, and here's the really interesting part. The book proposes that everyone with an FY100 account would share equally in the dividend proceeds that come from these investments.
Whoa, hold on. Equal sharing, even if people put in different amounts.
That's the key to how FY100 could reduce wealth inequality.
Okay.
By making sure those dividends are distributed equally, it creates a way to redistribute wealth, making sure that everyone benefits from economic growth, not just the people at the top.
I can see how it would address some of the imbalances in our current system.
Yeah, and the book goes into a lot of detail about this, exploring how FY100 could really help bridge the wealth gap and lead to a more equitable society.
So just to recap, we've got tax-free contributions, investments in American companies, and equal sharing of dividends.
Yeah.
Anything else that makes this stand out?
Yeah, one more really crucial thing is that the money in these accounts would be locked until age 65.
Okay.
This encourages people to think long-term, and it stops them from using it as a short-term savings account.
Right. So it's there to build a secure financial future.
Right. The book argues that this long-term perspective is really important for building wealth and reducing our dependence on government-funded retirement programs.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get the big picture now, but I do have to ask, how would this work for people in different situations? I mean, would everyone really benefit from this?
That's a great question, and the book actually addresses this directly by presenting a lot of different case studies.
Oh, okay.
It shows how FY100 could work for everyone, from young professionals, retirees, and even low-income workers.
Let's dive into those case studies, because I think that's where this whole concept will really come alive.
Yeah, for sure.
There's one in the book, Mr. EFM. He's a young professional, and he seems to really benefit from this FY100. What's his story?
Mr. FM's story is a really good example of how FY100 could really empower people to take control of their own finances. So he uses employer contributions, and he strategically puts money into family members' accounts to maximize his tax benefits.
So even someone who's early in their career and maybe doesn't have a lot of extra money could still benefit.
Exactly. The book makes it clear that FY100 isn't just for the wealthy or people nearing retirement. It's designed to create opportunities for everyone to build wealth at every stage of their life.
That's good to hear. What about people who are already retired? Would FY100 still be relevant for them?
The book covers that too with the senior EMs. It's a retired couple who use their FY100 accounts to grow their money tax-free and then eventually pass it on as inheritance.
So it's not just about building wealth while you're working. It can also help manage finances and pass on wealth to future generations.
Exactly. The book highlights how adaptable and beneficial FY100 can be for different financial strategies.
Okay, so I'm seeing how it could work for people at both ends of the spectrum.
Right.
But what about people who are struggling to make ends meet? How could FY100 help them?
Well, that's where Miss Sue comes in. She doesn't qualify for traditional retirement plans, but FY100 gives her a unique way to save for retirement.
That's powerful. It really could level the playing field.
Exactly, that's what the book is arguing.
Yeah, and it could provide financial security for those who need it most.
Yeah, by giving everyone a stake in how well the American economy does, FY100 could help lift people out of poverty and make society more just and equal.
Yeah. Okay, these stories are really starting to paint a picture for me.
Good.
It sounds like FY100 could really work for a wide range of people.
That's really the point. It's not about choosing winners or losers. It's about creating a system that gives everyone a chance to succeed.
Okay, I'm starting to get on board with this idea, but it's not just about individuals, right? What about businesses?
Oh, absolutely.
Uh.
Businesses could use FY100 contributions as part of their benefits packages.
Oh, okay.
This would help them attract and keep employees, while at the same time supporting their long-term financial well-being.
So everyone wins.
Exactly. There's another case in the book, Mrs. Y. Weil. She makes a lot of money, and she uses FY100 to help her family and reduce her taxes.
Interesting. So it's not just about one person accumulating wealth. It can be used to support the financial goals of loved ones too.
Exactly. The book emphasizes that FY100 can be tailored to each person's needs and circumstances.
This is all making a lot more sense now, I have to admit.
Good.
But what about the ultra-wealthy, the super rich? Would they even be interested in FY100?
That's where Mr. Anwi comes in. He's one of those ultra-high net worth individuals, lots of assets. He sees FY100 as a way to have a big social impact while also minimizing his tax burden.
Wait a minute, so even billionaires could find value in FY100?
Exactly.
Interesting.
The book makes the argument that FY100 could be beneficial for people across the wealth spectrum, from those starting to build their wealth to those who already have a lot.
This is fascinating. It sounds like FY100 has the potential to bring people together, around this shared goal of a more equitable society.
That's really the underlying message of the book. It's about creating a system that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Well, I'm on board. But the book doesn't stop there, does it? It also explores some pretty unconventional ways to distribute FY100 funds.
You're right.
It's really outside the box thinking.
You got it.
So where does it go from here?
Okay, so for starters, imagine a world where your consumer rebates go directly into your FY100 account instead of being cash back.
Wait, so instead of getting money back when you buy something, it gets invested for you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a wild concept.
Yeah.
But I can see how it can encourage people to make purchases that help their long-term financial goals.
Exactly, and that's what the book is suggesting.
Yeah.
By working with businesses, FY100 could become part of our daily lives, seamlessly blending wealth building into our spending habits.
Fascinating. What other interesting ideas did the book have?
They even discussed how the government could use FY100 for programs like economic development or disaster relief.
So instead of offering short-term help, the government could use FY100 to give people the tools to become financially secure.
Exactly. It's about empowering individuals rather than relying only on short-term fixes.
This is really mind-blowing stuff. They even suggest using FY100 in game shows and lotteries.
Can you imagine watching your favorite game show contestant win big and then seeing that money go to 50 different FY100 accounts?
Talk about must-see TV.
Yeah, right? It would bring a whole new level of excitement and social impact to those shows.
It definitely would. And they explore how FY100 could be used for charitable giving too, don't they?
Absolutely. What if charities could directly invest in the people they help by contributing to their FY100 accounts?
Wow, that's a whole new level of giving. It could change charity from just providing immediate help to truly empowering people.
Right. The book challenges how we traditionally think about charities, saying that FY100 could be a more effective and sustainable way to address social problems.
These ideas are really thought-provoking. It sounds like the authors are really dedicated to making FY100 a reality.
They are. They're definitely pushing the boundaries and questioning conventional wisdom, and I think that's what makes the book so interesting.
I agree. It's not often you find a book with such a bold and comprehensive vision for addressing wealth inequality.
It's not just about theory. It's about giving a practical roadmap for creating a more equitable and prosperous future.
Okay, we've covered a lot. The basics of FY100, how it could help individuals and businesses, and even some of the unconventional ways to use it. But I'm thinking bigger picture now. What kind of impact could this have on the entire U.S. economy?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the book actually goes into a lot of detail about that. We'll explore those potential economic impacts in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait to hear more. This is already one of the most interesting deep dives we've ever done.
It is fascinating.
It really is.
FY100 really could shake things up and spark some much-needed conversation about the future of wealth and equality in America.
Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back after a short break to look at the economic side of FY100 and see how it holds up under the scrutiny of different economic and political viewpoints.
One thing that really impressed me was how the book goes beyond just the FY100 concept.
Yeah.
It digs into its potential impact from all these different economic angles.
Yeah, that's what I'm really interested in. We talked about individual benefits and how it could help society, but how would it actually affect the whole U.S. economy?
Well, the book argues that FY100 could have a lot of positive ripple effects. For one, it could really boost investment in domestic businesses,
Okay,
and that would fuel economic growth.
that makes sense. I mean, if more people have money to invest because of their FY100 accounts, that money would flow into the stock market and help American companies, right?
Exactly. And because the money in FY100 accounts has to be invested in U.S. companies, it could create a huge influx of capital.
So it's not just about people building their own wealth, it's about making the entire U.S. economy stronger.
Right. And think about what could happen to the stock market.
Hmm.
With all that long-term investment capital coming from FY100 accounts, it could become a lot less volatile and less prone to those short-term swings and speculative bubbles.
Oh, that would be a nice change.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd feel much better knowing the market was driven by long-term investment instead of all that crazy speculation.
Right. The book suggests this stability could lead to much more predictable and sustainable growth.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about government programs? There's always talk about how sustainable programs like Social Security are in the long run. Could FY100 help with that at all?
That's one of the big points the book brings up.
Yeah.
If people can build their own retirement savings through FY100, it could take some of the pressure off government programs.
So over time, we might need to pay less in taxes to support those programs.
That's the argument. By shifting the responsibility for retirement savings to individuals, FY100 could lead to a more sustainable system.
Okay, I see the potential economic benefits, but what about when we look at it from the perspective of different economic theories? Does it fit in with existing frameworks?
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
The book looks at how FY100 aligns with or even challenges ideas like the invisible hand, capitalism, neoliberalism, even modern monetary theory.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'm familiar with some of those, but modern monetary theory?
Yeah.
That one always confuses me.
It's a bit of a complex theory,
Yeah.
but the basic idea is that governments that control their own currency can create as much money as they need to fund stuff without going broke, as long as they can keep inflation under control.
Okay, that's a super simplified explanation, but I think I get it. So how does FY100 fit into that?
The book says that FY100 could actually be a really useful tool for putting those MMT principles into action. Imagine the government putting newly created money directly into people's FY100 accounts. It would stimulate the economy and promote wealth equality.
So instead of just printing money and hoping it trickles down, the government could target it specifically towards investments.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a way to use MMT without risking the kind of runaway inflation some people worry about.
That's a really interesting perspective. What about some of those other theories you mentioned, like capitalism and neoliberalism?
Well, FY100 might seem to contradict those at first glance.
Yeah, I can see that.
It does involve government intervention and wealth redistribution, which traditional capitalists and neoliberals usually don't like.
Right.
But the book argues that FY100 actually strengthens some key elements of those systems.
Really?
Yeah. For example, by encouraging investment and entrepreneurship, FY100 could actually fuel economic growth, something that capitalism thrives on.
And that focus on individual responsibility, that seems to align with neoliberal values.
Right. The book frames FY100 as giving people the power to control their own finances instead of relying on government handouts.
So it's not about getting rid of those systems, but making them more inclusive.
Exactly. The book challenges that whole idea that we have to choose between free markets and social justice. It's saying we can have both.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the political reality? I mean, could something like this actually happen in our current political climate?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The book looks at FY100 from different political angles, exploring how different groups might see it, like libertarians, Democrats, Republicans.
Let's start with the libertarians.
Okay.
I know they're all about individual freedom and limited government. Would they like FY100?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
On the one hand, FY100 does empower individuals and it limits government control over investments,
Right.
which aligns with their principles.
Okay.
But that mandatory equal dividend sharing, that might be a problem.
Yeah, I can see that. What about Democrats and Republicans? Where do they stand?
The book suggests FY100 could actually find support from both sides.
Really?
Mm.
I'm surprised, given how divided everything is.
I know, but think about it.
Yeah.
Democrats might like how FY100 could reduce wealth inequality and give everyone a chance to get ahead.
That fits with their values.
Right. And Republicans, while they're usually against government intervention, they might like how FY100 emphasizes individual responsibility.
And how it could reduce the need for things like Social Security.
Exactly. It might be one of those rare cases where both sides actually see something they like.
That would be amazing.
Right. The book argues that by presenting FY100 as a win-win solution, something that helps individuals and the economy, it could actually bridge that partisan divide.
Now, that would be something. We haven't seen much of that lately.
I know, but the book does offer a bit of hope.
Yeah.
It shows that even with all the political division, there's still potential for common ground, for solutions that work for everyone.
Speaking of challenge conventional wisdom, the book takes a pretty strong stance against wealth taxes, right?
Yeah, it does.
It argues against using them as the main solution to inequality, and it presents FY100 as a better alternative. I know wealth taxes are a hot topic these days.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm curious to hear why the book takes that stance.
Well, first of all, wealth is really easy to move around.
Right.
People could just shift their assets to avoid paying the tax.
Yeah, we see that all the time with regular taxes.
Yeah.
People find ways to move their money to places where they'll pay less.
Exactly. And the book also points out that even if we could collect a wealth tax, the government doesn't really have programs set up to use that money effectively.
So the money might just end up sitting there instead of actually helping people.
Right. The book says we need systems that help people build wealth, not just redistribute it.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also the issue of trust, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
With all the political division and distrust in the government, people probably wouldn't believe that the money from a wealth tax would actually be used fairly.
Exactly. So the book presents FY100 as a more transparent way to deal with inequality.
By giving people control over their own investments.
Right. And ensuring that everyone benefits from the economy's growth, it could help rebuild trust.
Okay, so we've seen how FY100 fits into different economic and political ideas, and we've discussed why the book sees it as a better option than a wealth tax.
Right.
What else stood out to you about the book's analysis?
One of the most compelling things is the book's emphasis on the thinking long term. It challenges that kind of short-term Band-Aid solution mentality we often see.
Yeah.
It suggests that real change requires long-term solutions that empower people and build sustainable wealth.
I like that idea. It's easy to get caught up in the urgency of things.
Yeah,
But true progress means changing our perspective.
exactly. And FY100 represents that shift.
Yeah.
It's about creating a system where everyone benefits from the success of our economy,
Yeah?
where we all work together to build wealth instead of seeing it as a zero-sum game.
That's a really powerful idea. I want to hear more about the book's specific recommendations for actually putting FY100 into practice. What are some of the things we need to consider?
That's what we'll be diving into in the last part of our deep dive. The book doesn't shy away from the complexities of making this a reality. It covers things like system design, fraud prevention, and making sure everyone can access it.
Okay, well, I'm excited to explore those practical aspects. I'm starting to see that FY100 is more than just a theory. It's a real plan for changing how we think about wealth inequality in America.
It really is. The book doesn't just present a solution. It gives us the tools to be part of that solution,
Okay.
to join a movement for a better future.
Stay with us, everyone.
We'll be right back after a quick break to wrap up our deep dive into Fund Your $100,000. We'll be looking at the practical side of things and the challenges of implementing this bold initiative.
All right, we're back, ready to finish up our deep dive into Fund Your $100,000.
Yeah,
We've talked about a lot.
we have.
The basics of FY100, its potential impact on the economy, and even the politics surrounding it. But now I'm really curious about the practical stuff.
Yeah,
Like, could we actually make this happen in the real world?
that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether FY100 stays just an idea or actually becomes reality.
Right.
And the book doesn't shy away from the challenges.
Okay, good.
It actually has a whole section dedicated to the practicalities of implementation.
So they're not just theorists. They actually thought about how to make it work.
Right, exactly. They get into the nitty-gritty details, addressing potential issues and suggesting solutions.
Okay.
Like one of the first things is we'd need to design a really secure and accessible system for managing all these accounts.
Yeah, that makes sense. With millions of people potentially using it,
Yeah,
you would have to be incredibly reliable and user-friendly.
absolutely. The book talks about having a digital platform,
Okay.
something that's easy to use, even for people who aren't that comfortable with technology.
Yeah.
Think online banking, but specifically designed for FY100.
Gotcha. And security would be super important too, right? I mean,
yeah.
we've all heard those stories about data breaches and identity theft, so...
Oh, absolutely. Security is crucial. The book stresses the need for things like multi-factor authentication, strong encryption, all those safeguards to protect people's financial information.
What about fraud, though?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't people try to take advantage of the system?
Oh, for sure. That's another challenge the book tackles head on.
Okay.
They recommend having really strict verification processes, to make sure only eligible people can open accounts and contribute.
So background checks, making sure people's identities are actually who they say they are, all of that.
Exactly.
Wow, it sounds like they've really thought of everything.
They also talk about making sure the system is accessible.
Right.
Not everyone has good internet or knows how to use a complicated system online.
Right. Not everyone has the same tech skills.
Exactly. So the book suggests partnering with community organizations, libraries, even post offices to provide support in person.
Okay, that's great. So it sounds like they're committed to making FY100 inclusive and accessible to all Americans.
Yeah, that's really important to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about leveling the playing field and giving everyone a chance to build wealth.
Okay, so the book has a pretty detailed plan for handling the practical challenges of implementing FY100.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real. This is a huge change.
Right.
It would require a major shift in how our economy and political system work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they acknowledge that?
They do. The book is honest about the fact that getting something like this passed into law would be a huge hurdle. It would mean overcoming political roadblocks, bureaucracy, and pushback from people who benefit from how things are now.
Yeah, change is hard, especially when it comes to our economic system.
Right.
But does the book offer any guidance on how to make it happen?
It does. It emphasizes the importance of clear communication, educating the public, and building alliances.
So it's not just about convincing politicians, but about getting the American people on board.
Exactly.
Correct.
They believe that if enough people understand the benefits of FY100 for themselves, their families, and the country as a whole,
Yeah.
it could create a wave of support that politicians can't ignore.
It's almost like a social movement, pushing for a fairer system.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And
Right.
that's what makes the book so inspiring, I think.
Yeah.
It's not just giving us a solution, it's making us part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
It's a call to action for a better future.
Well, I have to say, this has been incredibly eye-opening. I started out skeptical, but now I'm genuinely intrigued by the potential of FY100.
Me too.
It's a bold idea, no doubt, but it's one that I think we need to seriously consider.
I agree. Fund Your $100,000 is more than just a book. It's a call to action, a challenge to rethink how we approach wealth and equality,
Yeah.
to imagine a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
And that's what the deep dive is all about. Exploring big ideas,
Yeah.
challenging what we think we know, and empowering our listeners to engage with the issues that shape our world.
Absolutely.
So what do you think? Could FY100 be the answer to wealth inequality in America? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Join the conversation on our social media and tell us what you found most interesting about this deep dive.
Yeah, please do.
And as always, thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into a topic that's sure to make you think. Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing for a better future.